so forgetful, but you always remind me you're the only one who brings me peace. You're the only one who brings me peace. I'm so forgetful, but you always remind me you're the only one who brings me peace. You're the only one who brings me peace. So I come, Lord, I come, I come. Lord, I come to tell you I love you, to tell you I need you, to tell you there's no better place for me than in your arms, to tell you I'm sorry for running in circles, for placing my focus on the waves, not on your face. You're the only one who brings me peace. You're the only one who brings me peace. I'm so forgetful, but you always remind me you're the only one who brings me peace. You're the only one who brings me peace. So I come, Lord, I come, I come. Lord, I come to tell you I love you, to tell you I need you, to tell you there's no better place for me than in your arms, to tell you I'm sorry for running in circles, for placing my focus on the waves, not on your face. You're the only one who brings me peace. You're the only one who brings me peace in the storm. In the storm, I'm so forgetful, but you always remind me you're the only one who brings me peace. You're the only one who brings me peace.
Good morning, Rooted Men. This is Steve Drew reporting to you from the campground. It's so nice to see everybody this morning. It was funny this morning. I got up early and I was sitting here and I got, like about 45 minutes to kill. And I was, what do I do? And I'm going through my Facebook and I found this post from the city of Oxford that was talking about America's Got Talent. They have a Swiss I don't know if anybody in the whole city of Oxford hasn't heard it yet, but she was on America's Got Talent. She's a senior at Oxford High School, and she sang a song, and it was so beautiful. And I'm sitting in the campground with tears in my eyes, watching this video. And if you haven't seen it, it's a pretty amazing clip. She did us proud. There's no doubt about that. We all have things that trigger us into an emotional response, and it's hard not to look at that day in November and think to ourselves, what if, or why, or how come, or whatever. Anyway, good morning, everybody. I see we have Ed Pila and Ken Gooch, and who else I got here? Oh my, look at that, Bert Reggiani and Mr. Donnelly. I'm in trouble. I have to be good this morning. That's not good. All right, get to it. It's a pleasure this morning being with you. I hope my internet is working good. I'm on a hot spot in the middle of nowhere. Today's lesson is James 4, the very first verse. One verse. And let me read that real quick. All right. What causes fights and quarrels among you? Don't they come from your desires, the battle within you? And I first read that, I'm looking at it going, okay, what am I going to talk about? And I go, oh man, look at this. The battle within you. How many times have we talked about the two kingdoms and that guy inside us that, it's not sin, but it's sin living in me. It's not me, but it's sin living in me. But the whole part of this is the way the Bible was broke up into chapters. This one to me is messed up a little bit, because what he's talking about is the last part of chapter 3. It really is a continuation of that chapter. And I know Russ covered it yesterday. I get that. But I think it's imperative we go back just a little bit to talk about it, because it is... let's just go back to verse 16 and verse 3. It says... Wait a minute. It basically goes back to 13 in chapter 3. And it talks about the two kinds of wisdom. All right. I won't read the whole thing because it's quite lengthy. But what he's trying to tell us in this verse, James is trying to tell us in this verse, is that there's two types of wisdom. And boy, if you have not heard this, you have not been awake in church. The scripture really talks about wisdom. It talks about the wisdom of this kingdom, and it talks about the wisdom of God's kingdom. And it gives a couple of descriptors who I thought were pretty amazing. It says it is filled with ambition and bitter envy. It's an earthly wisdom. It's selfish desires, boasting and pride, and it's filled with disorder and evil practices. And then it says the wisdom of God is a wisdom that's pure. It's peace-loving. It's considerate and submissive. And I think we look at submissive nowadays and we think that maybe we shouldn't be submissive, because that's how people... We're not talking about being abused or being controlled. It's more about following God and trusting His word. I think about your fights. Think about your life and your arguments and the fights you've been in your whole life. I mean, it's pretty... We've all been through it. We've all had things that just, got us going, and we wanted to strangle somebody. I'm guilty. Do they come from a place of peace? Are they pure? Do they consider other people's feelings? Are you submitting to the will of God when you're going through this? And I can't help to let's focus for a minute in God's kingdom now. We've had the argument. Are we in a place of peace? Are our thoughts purely motivated? Are we showing consideration? And are we submitting? Imagine being in an argument and having none of those things. Right. I mean, your argument, you can tell which kingdom you're in with your argument if you just stop for a second while you're arguing or being angry at somebody and ask yourself, there's 4 things. Are you in a place of peace? Are your thoughts pure? Are you showing consideration? And are you submitting to God's will? Tell me somebody that can argue and fight with that thought process. I think, to me, the instant you look at the argument you're in, if you're honest with yourself and you're straightforward, you're going to realize that somewhere down those 4 things, you've crossed the line and you've moved to the other side of the kingdom. What would help you? How can we take this lesson and help us in everyday life? How can we take what we've learned about the 2 kingdoms over the years and how the battle that's within us with, that guy that likes to sneak up and get us in trouble, how do we live our life with that? Can it help us? And I looked at this lesson and I thought, how can it help us at work? Well, the way we react to others. I mean, we see people, we deal with them on a daily basis. We know people can be difficult. If we're constantly bickering and arguing with people, how does that look to our management or the people that pay us? Are we good at problem solving? Because we're not worried about how much attention or how much credit I get, but just getting the problem handled. Or work ethic, even. I mean, your work ethic. This scripture can really help us with our daily life at work. Every single thing on there is beneficial. At home, dealing with children, we know they can push you over the limit. I mean, who hasn't? Your spouse. When some of the biggest things I hear with men is we argue, and I think, well, can you literally argue with your wife and take those 4 aspects of God's kingdom and look at it and say, none of that's in me right now. I think it's impossible. Your neighbors. What better way to evangelize than your neighbors see that you're a little different than everybody else? You're not screaming at people. You're not screaming at your kids. It's amazing how scripture can, can point out the flaws in our lives. In our kingdom here on earth, we feel we need to win arguments. If you don't win the argument, you've lost the war. Anybody ever won an argument and felt like both sides totally agreed? It's pretty rare. Usually one person leaves with the tail between their legs or mad. I mean, how many times have you argued with somebody and the other person start calling you names and storm away because you're wrong, I'm right? And I don't think that's the way it works in God's kingdom. We don't turn away from the person. We don't call them names and stuff. That's just not how it works, guys. In God's kingdom, we give consideration to others' opinions. They may be dead wrong, and we can point that out. But it's still their feelings and what they believe. So how do we change that how do we change it from within God's kingdom instead of from this kingdom? We know how to do it in this kingdom. We argue it, we insult them, we scream at them, and we turn away from them. How do we do it in God's kingdom? That's the big question of the day. We deal with people with peace in mind. That might be the first key. If you know you're going to trigger somebody, why would you say it? We check our own view. Make sure it's submissive to God. And then we use pure thoughts, consideration, peace-loving strategy. And I love how in the 3rd chapter, it says, and that should produce good fruit. Uh-oh. No, I don't, Tom. Let's see how he's doing this here. He likes to mess with me. So we because he knows that's the last thing that anybody in our church wants. That's what I got for you today, guys. I think I would like to see us all test it. Next time you feel the need to argue with somebody, look back and think to ourselves, am I coming from a place of God's kingdom or this kingdom? And I appreciate your time with me today. I get to come home today, so it's never a happy day, but thank you for joining me. Did anybody else join on here? I didn't make sure I see it. See Tom, you're very chatty this morning. All right. I think I got everybody, I hope, as a Facebook user. So those are always a trick. I have to look real quick and make sure. You guys got a minute, right? Nope. I guess just Bert. I guess that was it. Not just Bert. I appreciate Bert being here. Have a firmly rooted day, guys, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks when it's my turn again. God bless.